Welcome to Blinkers Off with your hosts, Jared Welch and Aaron Halterman.
Hello. What is up? I'm Jared Welch. He's Aaron Halterman. It is Thursday, April 17th, and this is Blinkers Off. What's up, man?
Yeah, welcome back, everybody. Gosh, hard to believe 2 weeks away from the Derby, and Saturday is 1 week away from the draw, so it's almost here. And this is always one of the more fun shows I think we do when we try to make a case for all of them today. So we'll see.
Yeah, no one's off limits
Nope.
this week, right? Like everybody has got a shot at as far as getting in. We'll make a case, I should say, for all of them. But no, you're right. Like it's it's that weird week. We're kind of talking about it before we hopped on here. It's that weird week where kind of like, all right, we've kind of talked this one to death. Let's get the field going here.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah, it's once that last prep ends, it's like, okay, it's Derby time. Let's run it. So yeah, there's no question about that. It's time to go. I'm pretty darn excited for this one. I think it's shaping up to be a really fun Derby. We got horses we really like, and that's good compared to the last couple of years. So now they're just they got to show up, they got to run. That'll be the next key, right?
Yeah, and I guess we'll start things off here a little bit with I don't know if it doesn't really seem right to call it breaking news because it's like, but all of a sudden it's like, hey, Owen Almighty's like, you remember me, bitches? I'm back. Owen Almighty is back in the talk after being out of the discussion and then back in the discussion and then out of the discussion, and now he's back in the discussion. Owen Almighty, apparently, Halterman, is going to run. So, whatever.
It is meaningful for the pace of the race because now you have 3 horses that kind of absolutely need to go. So, I mean, it is meaningful for that. Anytime you add horses with speed, that's just better and better a chance that it's going to be fast, right? So, it's crazy to think that I can't remember one in recent times where the trainer is dead set against it and the owners are dead set for it, right? It's wild.
Right. Like, and it's funny, like I said, like the way I worded that was on purpose because it was after the gosh, what race was it? Well, okay, no, I'm sorry. It was after the race he won at Tampa.
Yep.
And before the race, even it was like, yeah, like probably not going to the Derby. Like,
yeah.
And then he wins, like probably still not going. And then after it's like, we might go. We might. And then it's like, all right, let's enter in the bluegrass. All right, that makes sense. Like, let's see. Let's just give it I get it. Like, I'm not going to you test the waters there at the bluegrass. It's perfect kind of increase in level of competition plus distance. Obviously, we've kind of talked about that. Did not go well. I mean, you can't ask for a better trip. The distance just smacked this horse to the top of the stretch. And it was very clear. Like, I don't even think the horse was back to the stall yet. And it was like, yeah, we ain't, okay. We ain't doing that. It's okay. And then now it's like, yeah, now let's do it.
I think you articulated what they were trying to do, talking about the trainer, what the trainer was trying to do with the bluegrass. Okay, I'm going to run him here. It's 1 1/8 miles. These people are going to see he can't go this far. And then they're going to go, oh, you were right. Okay, we're going to go to the Pat Day Mile. I think you said that last week, and I agreed with you. I think that's kind of was the thought process. We'll try it here. Hey, and you know what? Maybe he'll shock the trainer even and run well. And then we'll go to the Derby, no problem. But we're going to run, and if he does what I think he's going to do, we'll wrap him up, and no big deal, and we'll just take him to the Pat Day. And it's a strategy that worked for what, like 3 or 4 days? They were out off the trail, and now they're back on it. So good try, good attempt, didn't work. But listen, that's what this show is about. We're going to tell you how he can win it later on in the show. So that's the fun of it.
Well, there's always a way, Halterman.
Yes.
As we've learned from the Derby. And as any YouTube commenter will tell us, there's always a chance, Halterman. Okay, There's any horses in the gate, they got shot. And I mean, listen, I guess we'll hang tight for that. We'll do our best to make a case for that. But yeah, it definitely we're having the case of Derby fever happening right now. without question.
Mhm.
And even as much as Beza with with sheriffs, like he has said on record. It's funny how much the trainers and owners don't agree, right? When it comes to the Derby, he said on record, like, "Hey, we're not shipping if we're not in. Like, I'm not going to mess with it just to be on the also eligible." And then it's like, yeah, actually, we're going to. We're going to ship next week because the owners want the thrill of maybe getting in. And I'm not going to sit here and like shit on that because I've never had a horse that's had a chance to run in the Kentucky Derby, and if I did, I might do the same thing, but it's very clear that there's an owner decision and a trainer decision. And yet, as people in the game, and you've had multiple horses with Kelly, you're not calling the shots with Kelly.
No, but a lot of his owners do.
Right,
it was funny. It was funny. So I do not report anything until Churchill Downs makes it official, right? So I did the Derby video this week, and I said, here's the horses that are in italics on that list. They're iffy. They're not. And somebody who I love, I'm not making fun of this person at all, emailed me and goes, well, I watched your video, and hey, here's the update. This horse is doing this, and this horse is doing this, and this horse is doing this. And like one of them was like, render judgment. McPeak says they're not going. And I'm like, literally talk to the owners today. They're going if they're entered, right? And then they're like, Safi Joseph says they're going to work on the turf and go to the American Turf with Neoquist. And then a day later they go, if he's in the body of the field, we're running in the Derby. So that's why I know even like DRF or Blood Horse or people who report this stuff, I don't say a word about it on our videos until Churchill Downs says it, because even they with Owen Almighty took them off and added them, right? But at least I'm getting it right from Churchill Downs because of what you just said. Yes, logic usually plays to the side of the trainers, but I want to run in the Kentucky Derby with my racehorse wins out because the people that pays the bills wants to run in the race. So, hey, I get it. I'm with you. I would, if I had one that qualified, I'd want to run as well.
Yeah, at the end of the day, a trainer, of course, trainers make money from winning races and things, purses, but they also don't have horses without the owners. And you kind of got to make them happy as well. So,
yep.
We don't know what kind of behind the scenes, but obviously we'll talk a little bit about each horse. Real quickly, I saw this. I don't. Slim's retired. I think. I don't know if we might wrap the pace thesis at this point. I'm not for sure. We will, though. I wanted to kind of give an update a little bit, like kind of what's on tap for the next, say, 2 weeks. We will have, obviously, next week. We still won't have the draw, but we'll be getting closer. So we'll hone in a little bit more of the actual field next show. And then, of course, the Saturday, this week from this Saturday, I should say, is the draw. And then everything just goes, it's one of those things that's like the busiest week for us, because then it's like now we know the fields. We will probably be recording with John White. Of course, our annual tradition of having him on. We'll do that on Monday, I believe, Monday of Derby week. There's a little rumor going around that he may have his Derby Strikes article posted on the website as well. So that's going to kind of take the replace any kind of pace type thesis. So you're going to get John White's expert analysis article for the Derby. And then, of course, we'll record podcasts the week of for the Oaks and the Derby. And, of course, the Betting Bible coming out that week as well. So lots to come. It's one of those things, Halterman. It's like you can only do so much for now. And then it's like once that week hits, you're just like you have basically have 2 days to get like a week's worth of handicapping and work done.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, when those entries come out on Saturday, you really don't sleep until the race is over on Saturday of the next week, which is fine. That's the kind of week it will be, and we'll have a lot for you for sure. We'll be busy getting that Bible out to you as quickly as possible. I will say this: if you bought the Bible, look for it on Tuesday or Wednesday of the week of the Derby. And make sure you go back each day and check for scratches and updates, because the advantage of getting it out early is it's in your hands early, but the disadvantage is it may not have the latest information the first time you download it. So just make sure to keep going and checking for updates, because we'll want to get it out quick, but we're also going to update that thing when we hear, of what's going on.
Yeah, basically, each morning, essentially, try to download and if
Yep.
you got to be a subscriber, like not like a premium subscriber, but just be a subscriber, um, to Racing Dudes, just the emails, and so that way when we do post updates and stuff like that, we'll send out an email saying, "Hey, new version available." But all right, guys, let's get to today's show because we got a big show to talk about here with the 2025 Kentucky Derby runners. We're going to examine each horse and analyze if they do have a clear path and how that path might look for them to win the Kentucky Derby. Then we're going to give some, we do have some stakes action this weekend, some rapid fire picks at Keeneland and Oaklawn Park, including the $1.25 million Oaklawn Handicap. Let's go. Is the Bathhouse Row an official Preakness?
Yeah.
It is, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you got the Bathhouse Row this weekend, which is kind of an interesting. I mean, I thought it came out pretty well, really.
It's not bad. Yeah.
The Louisiana Derby also Rans are in there, and then you've got Baffert's got one in there, who for some reason tried turf last time out. So it's it's an interesting field, though.
Yeah. No, I think it's a good field. I think we'll get a legitimate Preakness runner out of it.
Oh yeah, I think so for sure. I mean, well, because you have a bunch in there that are at one point were Derby horses, so it definitely feels like and then you have a few that maybe don't belong, and then the Oaklawn Handicap is a solid race. As well. So
it usually is.
Yeah, that's right. All right. We're just weeks out from Kentucky Derby 151, and we're going to take a look this week at the field as it looks today. And more importantly, everyone's got a Derby horse, and really it's the Kentucky Derby. We've seen insane results, obviously, and mostly in recent years. From Rich Strike to Mind That Bird to Mage, to the disqualifications, whatever it is, it's been a fun, I'll say it loosely, but it's been a ride. And so there's always a case to be made for a horse. Like we're in the Kentucky Derby. There's 20 horses. There's weird shit that happens. So we're going to run through each one of these horses, some quicker than others. But we're going to go through and kind of say, okay, if this is your horse, this is your Derby horse, this is the pick you like in the race, how does this horse get the job done? So let's just, again, this is not any kind of preference of order. This is strictly from what you see on the screen, the order of the points as it ended. And, we got two kind of horses here to start things off with Burnham Square and Sandman Halterman, who both have pretty similar running styles. Sandman maybe a little bit more of a deep closer than Burnham Square, but both of them are going to need some pace to run into. Do you think is it just 1000% dictated by the setup of the race for these two?
Yeah, I would think so. You will get a lot of repeat answers on a lot of these horses this year because it does seem like one big key that has to happen, the check mark that has to happen is we've got to get speed up front, and when we talk about this, we're not talking about post positions yet because there's no reason to add that element in because you just never know who's going to draw what, obviously. But with Burnham Square and Sandman, the number one thing that's going to have to happen is the pace is going to have to materialize. Now, there's good news with Owen Almighty in the race. You've got a better chance to get a hotter pace. So, look, I think that's a big key. Burnham Square is just kind of keep improving off what he's been doing. He still needs to jump up a little bit. And with Sandman, it's, again, hot pace and try to not get yourself in some kind of issue, trouble, stupidity, in a way that he's done in the past. Just don't be your own worst enemy. Get the pace, and then, like Burnham Square and Sandman both, you're going to have to luck out and get that trip. But that's a big key for those two. Get the pace, and then with Sandman, don't do anything to get yourself in trouble.
I honestly, Dennis, you're right. I completely agree that he's more talented. I like him a lot, actually, Sandman. I just, the goofiness of him is what gets me, especially in a race like the Kentucky Derby, where there's just so many factors that you've got to be able to kind of get through. And, a horse that has trouble running straight is a concern in the Kentucky Derby. But I've said and you've said really which is kind of rare, honestly, for us. I feel like with a Mark Cassidy kind of weird tappet horse, like you and I have both been very adamant, like this horse is very talented, like, and I've picked him multiple times. And I would even argue for someone like you, like you have made a lot of references that you really like this horse. Which is, I think it just bodes like you know how to spot talent. It's just been a matter of, can he get out of his own way? And I'm concerned about him in this race. I've said it multiple times. I think he could be a horse that after the race, we're like, man, look at the garbage this horse, put himself through, and he still ran 4th or 5th, and look for him moving forward. So it kind of feels like a horse that might have trouble. And a lot of that maybe be his own doings.
Oh yeah, he's the number one chance of having trouble because of something that he did, not bad luck. And that's why I couldn't ever pick him to win any of the races, even though he beat me the Arkansas Derby. But you just watch him and you go, well, sometimes a horse has a bad trip, but it's a lot of bad luck. His are just, I'm going to get myself in the worst position possible type stuff, right? But again, you don't know for sure he's going to do that in the Derby. You just look at it and go, okay, more horses this time. What's he going to do? And you do worry about it. That if you're supporting him, that has to be the worry. But again, if he can keep himself out of trouble and get a pace set up, he's going to have a chance.
All right, so I'm going to do this a little bit differently now that we've gotten to I'm going to save journalism for after we talk about Rodriguez, and not just Rodriguez. I want to throw in all the Bafferts, and let's throw in Owen Almighty at this point, and we'll throw in the possibility of East Avenue there, because I'm talking about speed, and this is how this race is going to set up, because I think everything about this race goes through. Let's just go through these horses: Rodriguez, Citizen Bull, Owen Almighty, East Avenue, and then obviously Madcat Road, what he does, possibly getting in the race there as well. So Halterman, first and foremost, that's 3 Bafferts I listed. Who the hell is going to be on the lead? And 2, I mean, they can't all make the lead, and these are horses that have kind of shown they need to get to the lead in order to have their best opportunity, especially being Rodriguez, who's sitting there at number 4. How are you navigating this?
I just don't know what world we live in where Rodriguez isn't the one on the lead. But I've said that before in races, and he's not on the lead out of the Bafferts that are in races. So I could be dead wrong again. But I think Rodriguez is the one that's in front, and I think Madcat Road and Citizen Bull are the blockers of the race. That's how I view it. I could be dead wrong again. But here's what I know for sure. He's not sending all 3 of them. So he'll send 1 and 2 will rate. It's just a matter of, I'm going to pick Rodriguez as the one that he sends. Now, look, whether it's Rodriguez, Citizen Bull, Madcat Road, East Avenue, and even we'll throw in Owen Almighty, if they all go or 3 of them go, they're screwed, right? So the path of victory for Rodriguez, East Avenue, and again, we're making a case for all of them, so I will throw in Owen Almighty and Citizen Bull and Madcat Road. You've got to hope that, let's say you're Rodriguez, you've got to hope East Avenue doesn't break well and he's not out there. And it could happen. We've seen it happen on the big stage before. And then you've got to hope Owen Almighty, we've entered him. Just take care of him. Don't go blazing him out there. We got a long season with him. He can win races. Maybe they just instruct the jockey, talk about the trainer, just instructs the jockey. Just take care of him. Don't overdo it with him. And then all of a sudden, if that's the approach with Owen Almighty, which I think it's possible. I know they're saying send, and I think that's possible as well. They just send him. But if Lynch says just wrap him up a little bit, keep him out of trouble, just jog him around there, don't worry about it. Okay. Then Rodriguez could sit back and go, where is everybody? I'm a loose. Now, what if Rodriguez freaks out and it's East Avenue who breaks out in front? And all of a sudden, he's out there loose. That's how these horses will win this race.
And you also have to think there's going to be, whether it be one of the kind of international horses, or just one of those weird horses that ends up very close to the lead and pressing as well. You also have to assume that not all of them are going to, maybe they have a bad break, or we don't know the post positions yet. So that could be a factor as well in determining, okay, which horse is, if Rodriguez draws the 1, you're like, well, shit, he better go, and so it's that will have some factors as well. But if I put a gun to your head and said, which horse is the fastest out of that group of horses we just kind of mentioned there, who's the fastest?
There's no doubt in my mind it's Rodriguez, because I've dug through the numbers. He just is. If they let him, he will be setting the pace. But again, it's just a matter of, is he going to get hounded? Because these other horses, Owen Almighty and East Avenue, they can run with him. I think Rodriguez is naturally a little faster. And what that means is, okay, you're going to run hard to get the lead and they're going to be nipping at your heels. Well, you're going to fade. Like you may be in front, but you're going to fade. But he's the only one that I believe can take the field gate to wire, but he's going to need the perfect trip, right? He's going to need to go 46 and change and be a length clear. If he's that, he's well within himself and he's not getting pressed, he's got a shot. But I think with Owen Almighty now in the race, it becomes more likely that that's not the trip he's going to get.
Well, here's the thing. I think you're dead right about the Witch Baffert, because we know, at least in my opinion, we know Mad Cat Road is not that great. We know that Citizen Bull got everything his own way in the last race and proved to be not so great. And with Rodriguez, he's on at least a horse that's trending up, right? And then on top of that, we saw, hey, get into the lead, and he looks pretty damn good. When he's not in the lead, he looks the equally as bad. And so just by default, it kind of feels like Rodriguez is the horse, regardless of if you think he's fastest or not, which I agree with you. But I'm saying, to me, if Baffert has the clearest chance for him to win, would be sending Rodriguez to the lead. That's, and you guys, if you haven't watched it yet, it's here on our YouTube channel, or you go to the website and you can search there on whether you go to the Kentucky Derby page or just search for Rodriguez in the search bar. But Halterman, we're going through and he's laying out every horse profile throughout the next week or two, but he's got one for Rodriguez out already. And I watched it myself even, and it's like, damn, I'm going to have to consider this horse again, because he made a very good case of how, and it's very similar to what we're doing here today, where it's like, here's kind of what the horse needs to do. But so go watch that as well as all the horse profiles. But all right, so the race is set up. We know, unless something insane happens, we know the pace is going to be there for this race. Journalism sitting there at number 3, the very easy favorite, whether you think he's going to get beat or not, very clear favorite of the race, and deserving at that. Where do you think? What trip do you think he sits here?
To me, as a guy who's probably going to have journalism backed, I think mid-pack. I think he can sit further ahead of most of the main contenders. And I think he can sit, mid-pack, whether it be the very back of the first flight of horses or the very front of the second flight of horses. I think that's kind of where he sits. And because you look at his races, he breaks really well in all of them. He's quick out of the gate, and then they kind of get him to relax, and then he runs again. So I think a hot pace would be fine for him. I don't think that's going to be too big of a problem for him. I think it helps him. Look, I think when we're turning for home, he's going to be ahead of all the other closers in the race, because I don't really think he's a true closer. I think he's a mid-pack runner. And then it's going to be a matter of, I think he hits the front, and can he just hold off who's behind him? I just feel like, even though I can make a strong case for Rodriguez, again, with Owen Almighty back in the race, it starts to feel a little bit more like it's going to be fast. So I think journalism will pass who's in front of him, and it's just going to be, can he hold off who's coming from behind? But mid-pack runner, sit there, try to keep him as clear as you can, without losing too much ground, which I know that's tough, but just try to keep him in as close to the rail as you can, and try to keep him as clean as you can, and then just let him roll. And he's got to do it from there. If he gets that kind of trip and doesn't win, he simply just was not good enough.
Yeah. I mean, I think I think he's very much like an epicenter type of horse where we hit the top of the stretch and it's like, all right, well, there you
Yeah.
go. I mean, it's his to win now, and
Yep.
epicenter just kind of tired there a little bit, and obviously had a little bit bad luck as well. But it's gonna be is it, I think he's such a I don't want to say lock, but him running out of the top 3 journalism would be somewhat shocking to me in the Kentucky Derby. Now, any of these other horses, like I'm not necessarily going to be super surprised if any of these hit the board or don't. But journalism not hitting the board would be he's been such a consistent horse the way he's ran, and every race has been very, very cookie cutter in a sense that he starts well, he gets in a position, and he whether it been in a good position or bad, but then he kicks out, and then but guess what? Top the stretch, here he is. I don't really care personally about the field as far as the size. I think it's a factor, the 20 horses, but I still think he can outrun that factor because of his talent. So him not being there is not a concern for me. It's more of, will one of these other horses step up enough to beat him?
Can I ask you a serious question? Because I was thinking about this the other day. So he's been facing 5 horses, right? So, Burnham Square and East Avenue, they ran against 7 in the Bluegrass. Does that have them way more prepared? 7 versus 5? Like, Sovereignty, what was there, 9 or 10? Like, is that really what I'm trying to get at? Is there anything that really prepares a horse for 19 other horses around him?
No, there's nothing. There's nothing like that before, after. That's literally the only time they'll see anything like that. So yeah, you don't know truly like that. You telling me that a horse that faced 8 other horses versus a horse that faced 4 or 5 other horses is more prepared? Like or at least enough to where it's like, hey, well, this, I don't have any concerns about, Sandman, but I hate journalism because he's not facing anyone or facing any fields. I think that's bullshit, honestly.
Yeah. I kind of agree. I don't. This is a very different situation than any of them have ever been in. And again, there were a lot of short fields this year, so I don't know. Like a commenter on one of, and I'm not picking on anybody. Don't get me wrong here, but a commenter was like, I don't know, I like these Bluegrasses horses. That was kind of more of a legit field. I was like, really though? Like 7 versus 5, I don't think there's that much of a difference, really. Now look, if you've been running against 12 horses all the time, maybe you're a little better prepared for it. I could see that. But
honestly, I think that the case you made last week or whenever it was after the journalism race is more like he experienced some adversity in that San Diego Derby. He was blocked in, he got banged around, he had to push himself out in order to get a position. Those are the things that I am more interested in when I see a horse. Did that horse have some adversity against him? I don't care if there's 2 other horses in the race. Like, did the horse get troubled? Did the horse have to pull back and then have to re-rally and do? Those are the things that I'm looking for in a horse versus, well, yeah, he only faced 4 horses. You know what I mean? Like, to me, that's what's going to test the quality of a horse when it comes. Just think about anything. Think about life. When you get tested with a little adversity, it sets you up to be more prepared for it when it happens again. Well, I feel like that these 3-year-olds, a lot of them 2 turning 3 now, technically, are learning those things you have to learn. So a horse that hasn't had any adversity gets smacked with it right in the gate out of the Kentucky Derby, then it's like, oh shit, that's an issue. But again, it's hard to find too much of that adversity, but it's nice to me when you see a horse have a little bit of it in these prep races.
Yeah. And I think the other thing about it, like his running style isn't ideal for 5-horse fields either, right? Like if he was just a horse that liked to go gate to wire, right? Well, that's ideal for a 5-horse field. He had to chase down lonely leaders, at least in the San Felipe he had to. So I do think that, his running style really isn't conducive to winning races like that. So, that's another positive, I think, for him as well. So again, you got to get that mid-pack trip. And then, just kind of got to let it roll and hope he's good enough. And, like I said, try to keep him tucked in without just getting dirt all over him. It's hard to do, I get, but just try to get him in that spot and see what happens.
All right, let's move on a little bit to a few others. Let's go to a horse that you mentioned several times that you like, and that's the 5. The 5 on the list. Tistastic. Tappan Street is a horse that definitely feels like is making the right trending upwards at the right time, and then a horse that maybe isn't, but still has a lot of love, and that's Sovereignty. So and really, all 3 of these horses should really benefit from another situation with the pace.
Yeah, 3 horses again, gonna love having pace. Hopefully they get the pace, for their chances. Look, I kind of like Tistastic because I feel like he's just as good as some of these other ones, and he's getting completely ignored because A, he ran a long time ago, in the Louisiana Derby, and B, he does just have that muddied up form, but he always is running at the end, and I think a mile and a quarter is going to be nice for him. Horses with a little bit of turf form do well over the dirt at Churchill Downs for whatever reason. So I think Tistastic's a horse. Just get the, get the pace. And he kind of showed in the Louisiana Derby, he can kind of weave in and out of horses. So I think, he's one with a big shot. Just get pace and make your run. Tappan Street, I just think he's got to get a little bit better, but he might because, he is lightly raced. So Tappan Street's a horse that I think, again, get a little pace. I think he sits closer to the journalism trip than he does way behind. So that would be good for him. I think he'd be a little bit more forwardly placed. And then, look, Sovereignty, I think the pace has to totally collapse. I do. And then I think he's just got to work out the dream trip. I just don't see it from him unless they all come back and he just kind of gets that ground saving perfect trip. But look, a hot pace is going to help him immensely. There's no doubt about that. And so that's, to me, that's how you win. Yeah. You get the hot pace and you get a good trip, and Sovereignty can do it.
I think, where's that comment, Jeff? Like, I was kind of with you at that. In fact, I was pretty vocal about it right after the race, after he lost in the Florida Derby, Sovereignty, that is. And yeah, the numbers aren't fantastic either with buyers. But when I started looking at, at Hot Rod, you mentioned it too. When I looked at the Thoroughs, it tells a little bit of a different story with Sovereignty. I don't necessarily. He didn't regret. I mean, really, technically, if you look at the Thoroughs, he didn't regress at all from his 2 races. And then he ran a 1 in both his 3-year-old debut there, where he won, and then he ran a 1 again. And then you look at Tappan Street, he ran a 4 on his debut this year, or his debut period, I guess. And then ran a 1 that day when he won. So he's obviously a horse training in the right direction. My concern with both of them is they're not fast enough. And I don't know. Like it's Sovereignty just seems like a plotter to me that just maybe not going to quite get there. You know what I mean? Like, I think he could run well. I expect him to run well. I don't not like Sovereignty, and I think the price will be right on Sovereignty, where I'm going to have a lot of internal battles with, like, oh man, 10-1, 8-1. That's pretty damn juicy for a horse that could have been the favorite, maybe, or at least competing for favorite if he would have rolled in the Florida Derby. So he's not as off my tickets as he was 2 weeks ago. I'll say that for now.
I think you'd be crazy to leave him out of the try, because I do feel like he's going to pick off a lot of horses, because he's not going to get tired. Talking about Sovereignty, he's not. He wasn't tired in his last race, but what he kind of just showed me in his last race is he might not be, that turn of foot might not be quite as quick as what I thought. And I think to win the race, if you don't have that huge turn of foot and you are that horse, I don't necessarily think he's a plotter. I think, a plotter to me is just one that's just like, I have to have them come back before I pass them. I think he's a grinder, meaning I can pass him, but I need a lot of time. Well, the one way to make up time is if the horses in front of you are kind of slowing down, then all of a sudden you don't need as much time. So I just think to win, that's the thing. They're going to have some horses come back to him a little bit, which is very possible. But even if they don't, getting up for third, that makes a ton of sense to me. And I think he can do it. But
yeah,
I think he needs a hot pace, no doubt.
I'll disagree, all right. He's certainly not fast enough. At least at the moment, he's not fast enough. There's multiple horses faster than him in this race, and the numbers show that. I think I'm not going to sit here and say he can't be fast enough, like you said. He's going to have to get better though, and I think that's my bottom line with Sovereignty. He has to get better in order to win this race, and there's nothing to say he won't. I love the trainer. Yeah. All right, let's go to a few others, Halterman. Let's see. Let's go Final Gambit, who's not completely confirmed yet, but Final Gambit, Coal Battle, and Chunk of Gold. So Coal Battle, let's start with him because he's, a horse that kind of was rolling in Arkansas. Didn't run so great in the Arkansas Derby. Didn't run absolutely awful, but it wasn't, really definitely didn't give you a lot of hope moving forward. But what do you do with Coal Battle? Is a price now like, hey, I can get on, like, it's playing him at a short price in the Derby. Let's just say he won the Arkansas Derby. You would still go into the Kentucky Derby being like, I don't know, man. Like, when's this rug going to get pulled out? But now does that effort be like, give him a better price? And then you're like, maybe I can play him.
I don't know. I do think the good news is he's going to sit in that good little pocket trip where journalism and Tapan Street are probably going to sit, or at least I'm speculating. So he's not a dead closer. I think that's good for him. I think he's going to get, up there where he can make a run first with those other horses there. I just can't, I can't get over the pedigree expert we had on Talking Track just said, I just don't think he'll go past a mile and a 16th. And then you watch that race at a mile and an 1/8, and it's like, yeah, he took the lead and then he stopped a little bit. Right. And I know everybody's, they didn't have him trained or whatever. I can't buy into any of it. They say that about Sovereign. He's never been cranked. I don't know. Like, I think you get cranked for grade 1 races myself, but that's just me. So yeah. Okay. Maybe he just was short, or maybe he just doesn't quite want to go that far. I don't know. I didn't really love what I saw. I respect him. I just think for him to win, he's just going to have to run a better race than he ran in his last one. He's going to have to get back to his effort. And again, the pace is going to have to help. Chunk of Gold and Final Gambit, I kind of look at as the same.
They're very similar horses. It feels
they
like.
are. They've been on synthetics. Chunk of Gold has been on the dirt here recently, though. They're like Sovereignty. They're like Tistastic. They're like Sandman. They're going to be back there. They're going to need pace, and they're just going to need to work out a trip. I like Final Gambit. I don't know that I like him for the Derby, but I like him as a horse. I think he's solid. I think he could pull some upsets and outrun his odds, and I think Chunk of Gold could do the same. I just don't know that they're winners, but to win, it's pretty simple. Get the pace, out finish everybody that's going to be closing. And if you like them better than Sandman, if you like them better than, Sovereignty, then take a shot with it, because they're going to be better prices. But they're going to be better prices because they just haven't shown that ability yet to get up and actually close and win a race of this magnitude on the dirt.
Dude, there's going to be such a decision to be made with so many of these horses, because they're so similar in a sense of how they, like, think about all these horses that, whether it be, Burnham Square and Sandman and Tistastic and even Sovereignty and Final Gambit and Chunk of Gold, Publisher, all these horses who kind of are, and how many times are we going to mention will benefit from the hot pace, they can't all get there, right? And so you're going to have to make a lot of decisions and maybe cut horses that, like you just mentioned, I kind of like Final Gambit, yep. But do I like him here? Is he fast enough to get there? Like, there's going to be some decisions that have to be made that you may not like.
Yeah, I'm with you. And, again, if Chunk of Gold and Final Gambit get third and ruin a try, I won't sit there Saturday evening and go, well, I'm shocked, because I wouldn't be shocked. But yeah, you got to make your decisions. And so, I kind of made a decision. I'm going to back a higher priced closer in Tistastic over Chunk of Gold or Final Gambit, right? That's kind of the decisions you got to make, because at some point you can't play every horse, and there's 20 of them, like we pointed out a dozen times. So you can't play every horse. You got to make decisions like that.
The question was somewhere, but Rob. So that will be Saturday, not this Saturday, the week from Saturday. They'll draw the fields. The also eligibles will come in at that point, there's no more like if you're on the also eligible, you can get in. Past that, you can't, right? And so even if there's 6 scratches, they'll just a shorter field. So, we'll find out a week from Saturday is when they'll draw. I believe. What time did we say that was? The other day when we were talking about it?
I don't know what time it
right?
is. I just know it's on Saturday.
All right. Let's go to. We've talked about a lot of these. Let's go to Publisher and. Let's go Publisher, American Promise, and Flying Mohawk. Now we're getting down to the bottom of the list here a little bit. Publisher has not won a race. American Promise freaked, but that was at Colonial Downs. And then Flying Mohawk, a horse that, I applaud their effort at getting in because it kind of took a horse that I don't think, probably shouldn't be in the race, but you got a turf horse to run and run second and get in. So what do you think of those?
Well, like I said at the top here, we're going to repeat ourselves a lot, and Flying Mohawk and Publisher are just like the closers we've been talking about. You got to get pace, and for these two, you got to outrun horses that I don't think many think you're going to outrun. That's the key. Now, American Promise is a little more interesting, okay, because he's the other horse that could play a part of the pace. He stalks a pretty. No, I wouldn't say it's a fast pace, but he stalked the pace and won drawing away in Virginia to win the Virginia Derby. So you got to think he's at least stalking. He's at least up there. He might honestly sit like the perfect Derby trip that we talk about, where you're kind of, you're forwardly placed, but you're not all out trying to run. You're just kind of sitting back there. The problem with him is, other than the Virginia Derby, boy, his races just weren't good, now his maiden was okay, but he has so many races on his past performances. They're just not very good. And that's your worry. It's like, okay, he might be in a good spot, but what does that really mean? I'm not sure. But for him to win, like his path to victory, do exactly what he did in the Virginia Derby. And when they turn for home, you kick on, you get that lead, you turn the corner with the lead, and maybe they don't get you. I mean, that's how you do it, but I don't know if he's even close to good enough to doing that in a race like the Kentucky Derby.
Well, what about Flying Mohawk? What do you think of him?
I just drop back, make one run, hope for the best, and I think, look, it's happened before, but I just think this is not a horse that's really a dirt horse. But I think it's great that he's in. I mean, if you earned your way in, you should run. And again, drop back, make a run. I don't think you're finishing last. Like, I think he'll pass some. I just don't know how many.
I mean, it's a cool story for sure. But it's like, and listen, I think whenever I saw the horse, obviously the horse was kind of out at first and then got in because of the defections, but I honestly, I was like, you know what? That was a pretty good move to get like, that's how you get a horse. It's not like maybe even a turf horse. Yeah. And get a horse like into the Derby starting gate. And they took advantage of the way it works. And again, like with a horse like that, you don't have to get creative. You're just like, hey, let's see what, let's just send him back and see if he makes a run late.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, look, I think he's got some quality to him. I just, I don't know if it's going to be like a Kentucky Derby winner. But I mean, again, with all these closers, dude, if you look back at the end of the day and go, X closer got third or fourth, I don't think it's a shock because we've seen that happen a lot especially with the pace perhaps being very hot.
How about Jason Worth, 2 for 2 with Derby starters? That's a
crazy
good start for the Derby for him. All right, let's go to Grande. We talked about Madcat Road. Let's go to Grande and Luxor Cafe and Admiral Daytona. We'll talk a little bit about the horses that could get in here in a second, but yeah, obviously, so the two, I mean, Grande is super interesting. He's a horse that, he ran a big number that day. if you like Rodriguez, and like he's certainly kind of on the improve. It kind of look a little bit like a Tappan Street, although he lost. And then, I mean, Luxor Cafe, this horse might be like third or fourth betting option in the race. I mean, so where are you seeing these horses in the race?
It's so hard with the international ones. We've seen them either break amazing and set a blazing pace, or break horrific and be way back, right? So wild cards. I really don't know on the international horses. I think Grande is a horse that can sit around where journalism and Cole Battle and those horses will sit, though. I think he'll sit a really good trip. He probably ran 1.25 miles in his last race. He was so wide on the turn. So
the whole way around. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think he's very lightly raced, and I think that's a problem. But it hasn't been a deal breaker lately. We know that. I think he'll sit a decent enough pay, or a decent enough spot. And he's kind of just make a move, put your head in front, turn him for home, and hope to hang on. That's kind of his path. And I mean, for the international runners, I don't know. Like, I just don't know what they're going to do. Hard to say.
What's super interesting about Grande is, if the way thoroughs work are a little different than other numbers, but he actually got a 0 thorough for the
Crazy.
race. Grande, and Rodriguez, who beat him in the race, got a 2. So it just goes to show you the distance he ran, the how wide he was, the pace setup, all those things had a factor. So if you look at those numbers, it's like, well, shit, Grande ran a huge race in that one. Well, when you watch it with the eye, I'm like, yeah, I don't know. He might need another race or two to kind of get to that point. I think he's a nice horse. I applaud him for getting, how they got him in the race. So that was impressive to kind of run him in there and then get him in. But I don't know. I'm a little bit on the fence with Grande. He scares me a little bit in order to, like, I don't know if I want to get beat by him. So I'm on the fence with him. And then honestly, with Luxor Cafe, man, he could be anything. Honestly, he's kind of got the class test with some of these, with the other international, with Admiral Daytona. And then that last race visually was so impressive, but what did he be? You just, you just have a hard time. More importantly, I think you got to assume he's going to be in that kind of mid pack, Luxor Cafe. You don't want to see him on the lead, and you certainly don't want to see him miss the break and be all the way towards the back. Although you look at last year's race, and every reason I was against Forever Young happened.
Yep.
Every single thing. He's gonna be too far back. He's gonna hate dirt. He's gonna hate all the horses. Everything. I was like, yep, check those off. I told you. And then the horse damn near wins the race. And so sometimes you just never know.
Yeah. Here's the deal. Forever Young could have been like a once in every 10 years type of horse, right? This Luxor Cafe, I'm sick of people saying, oh, this is the next Forever Young. I don't think that. Like, Forever Young's a horse, we knew about him way early in his career. This one's like, oh yeah, Luxor Cafe one. Look out, here comes Forever Young again. It's like, I don't know if I'm ready to say he's Forever Young. That's where I'm at with him. Like, but you know what? Japanese horses have come over here that don't have a lot of resume and won. Not the Derby, but other big races, I'm saying. So I don't know. I can't buy in on Luxor Cafe this year. By the time the Derby was here, I bought in on Forever Young last year. I don't think it's the same.
With Forever Young last year, it was like, they were like, just like a lot of these horses do over here, where it was like, okay, we're going to the Derby. And that was like in January, like,
right.
Here's how we're going to the, getting there. Whereas, and I don't know behind the scenes, but with Luxor, it was like, they didn't even make a decision that they were coming until a week ago. And so, maybe that was the plan all along. I don't know. But I understand what you're saying, and I agree with that. Like, I don't think he's Forever Young. Now, maybe he will be, I don't know. But going into the race, I don't see it. But listen, I mean, if you're telling me other than a few of these other ones, he fits in with the rest of this group. I mean, as far as
Right.
there's not like I'd rather play Luxor Cafe than East Avenue, right?
Right.
And so I think as an example, I'd rather play him probably than Publisher, even a horse that might get a little hype. So I think he deserves to be in the race. We'll see what he does. All right, Built. I mean, these horses are iffy to say the least, but Built, Neoquiz and Render Judgment, and then the horse that everybody wants to get in the race and is Beza for John Sheriff, who finished second. 2 Journalism last out. Unfortunately, only got 37.5 points because of the small field size, so he's on the outside looking in. We talked about a little bit on the opening. They are going to go ahead and ship to Churchill Downs. You can see there the in the italics, like none of those horses are confirmed, although probably Render Judgment would be. But what do you think of the chances? I mean, I guess I should ask you this: out of those 4, is Bieza the only one you're like, please get in?
Yeah. Yes, for sure. I think. Well, I just don't think Built. He's shown he's just not quite good enough. The Oakwist, I really like him, but just not for the Derby. I think he's tough though. Render Judgment, I would love for that horse to get in because of the owners, but I mean, chance to win, not much. Baeza's got a shot. He needs luck. It's been confirmed. Flavian Pratt is going to ride Baeza if he makes it. I think that's very telling because he was on Publisher at one point, obviously, and kind of left some decent days at other tracks to go ride Publisher a couple times. So I was surprised by that. But to look, I think he's got a big shot if he gets in. I think he can you can just put his name to the closers, just add the name to the closers there that have a shot to go get him if it gets fast, and we'll see. Yeah, he ran a bang up race, and he's got a lot of talent, and if you got a guy like Pratt wanting to ride you, that's just more confirmation. This is a serious horse.
All right, so I mean, listen, like it's he's a concern from a couple. Like if he gets in, like he's gonna be so like everyone, like he's like the wise guy horse is not even in the race yet. And so how concerned are you about, like, yeah, the talent might be there, but again, pretty similar to a few of these horses that Grande say were like, man, maybe just give it a little more seasoning underneath it. Like maybe he's got the talent, but it's like we're so much wanting to get him in because of what we've seen or what we've heard. But the same sense, like the reason he's not in is because, well, forget the fact that the reduced field and this
Right.
the points, but the reason he's not in is because he didn't run enough. And so how much that concern is there for you?
Yep. It's a concern for sure. And you're right. Look, they took a very conservative approach with him. And again, they a little bit of bad luck that Santa Anita didn't try to get more horses in their race or couldn't, let's just say. But yeah, look, I think it's a big concern. I even if he gets in, it's going to depend on the circumstances after that. I think he's got talent. I think he's a horse that, is good enough to run in these Triple Crown races and make an impact. But can I bet him to win the Kentucky Derby? Probably not. Even if he gets in, I don't think he's one that I'm going to have on a lot of tickets, to be honest. But I do think he deserves to be in the field, and I think he's a good horse.
That's the thing. I think that's the difference I have with it. He does, like, you're telling me that, I mean, and again, there's no offense to some of these horses that are in the race, but you're telling me that, Flying Mohawk deserves to be in the race more than that horse, and that unfortunately that's just the way it goes. And, but yeah, American Promise, Publisher, who hasn't even, he deserves to be in the race. I kind of agree with Rob a little bit. I kind of want him to get in because I think he'll take a lot of money. And that I don't know that I would use him just from that standpoint, but I do think he's a good horse. And listen, a lot of hate. Well, I saw a lot of people talking about how it's like, well, journalism, he could barely get by this horse. And this horse is just so lightly rated. Like, shouldn't he won that by more? I mean, I think Beza is a pretty damn good horse, though.
I mean, look, it's always easy after the race to say you beat nobody, right? You know what I mean? Like when he beat Barnes in the San Felipe, everybody was like, Barnes is so good. Oh my God, he's so good. He's Baffert's best. And he just blew right by him. And then, he beat Citizen Bull, who was like, who had won 3 Kentucky Derby prep races before that race, right? And he just blew by him. But he only beat a maiden. And they forget, well, those horses that everybody loved at Baffert's, he beat them pretty easy again. So it is what it is. We don't really know until they all start facing each other who's better than who. At this point, he may have beaten horses better than when anybody's beaten. He may have beaten horse worse. I don't really know the answer to that yet, but all I can do is just watch the race and say, does that horse have talent or not? And he looks like he's a talented horse to me. So
for sure, yeah, Preakness for him would be interesting as well. So if he doesn't get in, you assume they might reroute to that. Part of you kind of hopes for that too, because then he's a fresh horse with whoever does end up winning the Derby. Especially say it's journalism, get a little rematch there with him in the Preakness. But all right, guys, and Halterman, final thoughts here on the field. Any lasting thoughts you want to leave them as far as pace goes or setups, or maybe give the people something like, how much weight should they put on a horse that needs, like, I really like this horse, but I'm worried about the trip. Like, at what point does the balance level off?
Yeah, look, I think it's a hard thing to answer until you know the post positions and truly know who's in the race. I think just calm down on everything other than just looking at, okay, who do I think are the best horses? And then when they draw, put the rest of that together, right? Because all last week I was like, okay, it's Rodriguez and it's and it's East Avenue, and those are the 2 only true speed horses in the race. And then you add in Owen Almighty, and then it's like, oh, wait a second, right? You back up, you're like, wait a second. So don't get too hard-headed about a certain horse until we actually see the fields. But yeah, look, I think as of right now, everybody kind of has their favorites, and then it's just, okay, let's just hope that they get the draws that we want. But don't get steadfast on something and then they have a terrible draw and you just keep on them, because this is definitely a race where little things matter and they add up with 20 horses.
Totally agree. So guys, next couple weeks here, obviously we will learn more and more about who's in, who's out. I would kind of say exactly what Halterman said, or piggyback off what he said, and you can't assume one thing or another again till the fields come out. You might be for kind of sometimes you get a little bit tunnel vision, and then you like, it's only journalism. I can only bet journalism. I love journalism. Like he's so much better than the rest. And then he draws post 1. You're like, oh shit, I need to kind of go back to the drawing board a little bit. So, the way I like to look at it is I kind of start just grouping the horses together in a sense of like, all right, this is kind of my tiers of like, I think these horses can have the best chance to win. This group could win, maybe depending on certain things, you know what I mean? And then that way, when you see the field, you get the post positions, then you can really be like, all right, this horse was already on the fence for me. Now he drew post 1. All right, scratch, you know what I mean? And then that we kind of start to hone in a little bit closer to that. But don't completely write off horses quite yet. But again, next week after that, we'll have more and more information as we get closer to Kentucky Derby 151. What do you think, Halterman? I think the chat's excited.
I think people are pumped. It's Derby season.
It is certainly Derby season. You can feel it. You can feel it in the air right now.
And I love this. I'm not making fun of anybody, but I love, so we do this show every week. We're on every day. We're covering racing, but there are certain names you see in the chat where it's like, oh, it's Derby season. They only come around for like Triple Crown season, and then
for sure
they're gone, and that's fine. That's a lot of people, but it's nice to see some familiar names that we hadn't seen for a few months, right? So that's great.
Dude, I'm curious to anybody in the chat right now that only, and again, like we were there at one point, so I get it, but like, what is it that draws you the most to the Derby? A race like, why is it that you like to bet the Derby, or you're so into the Derby field, but you're not as much as in, say, the Travers in the summer or whatever it is. I'm just curious, like, what, for me personally, I was the same way before we even had the website. I kind of was like, well, I know the Derby's on. I'll watch the Derby. But I didn't really get into much until we obviously knowing the game more, and we got into it. Then, of course, then and then I went a little overboard.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think with a lot of people, and myself was included before we started the website, I think it's like, okay, it's on TV and it's pretty easy to follow and it's exciting. It is the most exciting time, no doubt. But then I don't think either they don't care or they don't want to put out like the effort to like, okay, now I have to install an app and I can watch it on my app now. You know what I mean? Like, it's like the Travers is like my favorite day of racing, but it's like a lot of people, it's like, yeah, I don't want to mess with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that's what's funny about it, Jeff. It's
Yeah.
like, it is the most ridiculous race of the
Yep.
year, for sure.
Yep.
It's the race that it's like one of the only big, huge races of the year that the result can happen. And we're just like, yo, that didn't really mean much. But yet going into it, it means everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
How many times recently we were like, well, that horse probably never will win again. And Rich Strike won that. Okay. What was it? So
yeah,
it's it's exciting. It is nothing like it. It's a shit show, really, though. It's almost impossible, from what we do every day in and day out, and that's handicapping, and kind of, you kind of have to approach the Derby differently. You just, especially when it comes to like the Tri and the Super, there's certain years, although not lately, where the cream is really, it's like, okay, listen, Justify is Justify. Pharaoh's Pharaoh. Like, it's going to like, they're just not going to beat that horse. And it happens. But there's other years where it's tougher to do.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And Breedis commented, it's like day in and day out racing, it does kind of feel like it's maybe there's only 4 or 5 out of the 8 that are 9 that have a chance. This one truly does feel like anything can happen because of the conditions, right? So I get that.
For sure. Oops, sorry. All right, guys, let's the excitement here is building for the Derby, but let's get into, we got a little bit of extra that we're going to talk about today for the weekend. It's time for Rapid Fire, presented by the Racing Dudes 2025 Kentucky Derby Kentucky Oaks Betting Bible. But who better than to explain what that is, other than, well, myself. So I'll give you a quick rundown here, guys. For the Kentucky Derby and the Kentucky Oaks over here at racingdudes.com. Get the Racing Dudes 2025 Kentucky Derby and Kentucky Oaks Betting Bible, featuring race-by-race wagering plans for the Oaks and Derby days on May 2nd and 3rd at Churchill Downs. That is available right now over at our shop at racingdudes.com. Last year's betting Bible correctly predicted the Oaks Derby double, of course, the McPeak double that we call it, that paid an insane 118-1. What's inside this thing, guys? Race-by-race wagering plans with the exact bet and wagering amounts for every race on Oaks and Derby Day. You'll also get multi-race plays for both days, including pick 5s, pick 4s, pick 3s, daily doubles, everything you want in order to help cash big tickets. We have pace projections, AI top 4 picks that uses 10,000 simulations for each race are also included within each day of the betting Bible. And of course, the legend John White is going to offer his picks, not just for the Oaks and the Derby, but for every race on Oaks and Derby Day. This is available in the shop right now, the 2-day package for $49.95. But if you subscribe to Racing Dudes Premium, you will get all betting Bibles absolutely for free. Those start as low as $70 a month. With this, the timing of this, you have the Derby and Oaks, and you've got the Preakness falling in that first month. If you were to go that subscription route, $70 would get you both of those betting Bibles. Who will we pick to win the Kentucky Derby? Get your limited edition copy today and see. There we go, Halterman. Are you excited? Do you want it? Go get it.
I want it.
It's available right now at racingdudes.com. All right, guys, let's head on over to Keeneland for race number 9. That's on Saturday, the Elkhorn Stakes, grade 2, 400K, going a mile and a half on the turf for the 4-year-olds and up. And boy, we got a good one here, at least a good betting race. Limited liability for Suge at 8-5. But really across the board, you got options. Grand Sonata's 4-1. It's a couple 8-1s in the race. Missed the cut at 6-1. Where are you going?
Yeah, I hate this race. It's pretty darn tough. I shouldn't say I hate it because I do like the number 9 Missed the Cut, and I think that's going to get the price that I want on this horse, and I like this one a little bit. So give me Missed the Cut at 6-1. Second off the layoff here, Charita Vo got a hold of this horse. Didn't run that well last time out, but I think second off the layoff is going to run better. Last year was second in this race behind Silver Knot, and I think this year runs that kind of race again, got a big chance. So give me the 9 Missed the Cut.
All right, you know what? I picked the same horse, so there you go. I know. 6-1. Listen, go back and watch that Mac Diarmida, that race. This horse had so much traffic issues. First race off of a very, very long layoff. It ran at Ascot in June of last year and didn't run again until March. So obviously the horse definitely needed a race, but you go look at the trip as well. Didn't get a lot of running room until late in the race as well. You're going longer here, and the horse has ran well in this race last year. Got beat by Silver Knot, but obviously a very good horse. Got second last year, I should say. So I think this is a nice horse. Obviously ran well enough to at least send him over to Ascot, or send her over to Ascot. So I guess it's him. It's in him. Anyone else, like, what did you think of the Suge horse? Were you that's a horse that's pretty heavily as far as morning line goes. That's I didn't think it was worthy of 8-5. Do you agree?
That's my thing. I don't think anybody should be 8-5 in this race. I don't think Missed the Cut, Limited Liability, there's hardly any difference in them. Grand Sonata is another one. I don't think there's hardly any difference in those three. You could probably throw in a couple more too. So can the Suge horse win? Absolutely. Do I want to bet that horse at 8-5? No, I do not.
All right, let's head to Oaklawn Park, race number 6. Let's talk about odds. Here we go. Race number 6, the Bathhouse Row, 200K, mile and 8 for the 3-year-olds again. Basically a win you're in for the Preakness, where if you do win, you get a free spot in the Preakness field. So field of 7 shows up here, and some of these horses should sound familiar because we've seen a lot on the Derby Trail. Instant Replay at 4-5 for Brad Cox was finished. It had a nice effort, really, in Louisiana Derby. A horse that did not have a good finish in Louisiana Derby is a 2 Caldera at 15-1, which is just a wild morning line price. And then Tis Secure for Bob Baffert showing up here at 9-2. Him for Ron Moquette at 4-1. Kind of gives you some options in the race, but where'd you end up at?
I chuckled to myself very loudly in the office when I saw Caldera was 15-1 earlier this week. It's like, yeah, okay. All right. Good luck.
Honestly,
with that
when I saw
line.
it, I was like, we just saw this horse in the barn. I was like, did he lose a leg since we saw him, or did something happen? Because 15-1,
I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. But
this
anyway,
horse, and you mentioned this to me earlier privately, is like, this horse was second choice in the Louisiana Derby.
Yeah, even you take out the My Racehorse situation, this is a horse that would not be 15-1 in this race. No, not even close. I don't think he's going to win, but I think he's got a shot. I think Instant Replay's the horse to beat, though. I was pretty impressed with that last race. His race 2 back was really good. And then the last race there in Louisiana Derby was very good. I think he's a horse that's just a little bit late to the party, or he could be in the mix there with those Derby runners. Got him going just a little bit earlier as far as this nice kind of form. I think he wins this one. I don't love the price of 4-5. I'll probably try to pair him a little bit in an exact. I'll put him on top and maybe play Caldera to secure underneath. But I like Instant Replay on top.
Yeah, I mean, even if even if you think he's a 15-1 horse, it's about like how the public is going to bet. And that alone, the horse is 5-1 just because of who it is.
Yeah.
Dwayne and obviously my racehorse. So yeah, it's a crazy line. Listen, all that being said, I'm with you. I love instant replay here, but I just 4-5 is just too low. Give me Caldera. You're not going to get 15-1 though, so that kind of makes it tough to like know what you're going to get. But you go back and you look. Okay, if you look at the race prior to going up to that Louisiana Derby, he's right there with instant replay as far as numbers go. They both are 91s, 92s. And so let's draw a line to the last race, as I think they all are, and let's see what happens. And that to me is worth one more bet with Caldera. Now, this is a big race for him, although it's Lucas, so we'll probably see him in the Preakness regardless. But it's a big race to kind of figure out what he is. You had an excuse in the last one, but let's see where you're at now, right?
Mm-hmm.
You need to run a good effort here. He likes Oaklawn Park. He's ran well here both times, 1 win, 1 second. So he's obviously he can go. He should run forever. He's even cutting back after that last race as well as instant replay. So give me Caldera one more shot, but I do think this is a big race for him to kind of figure out what he is. What do you make of real quickly? Tis Secure, the Bob Baffert horse. It's kind of a popular horse at one for a second. Looked awesome, broke the maiden, awesome. All right, Derby horse, and then they run him in the turf the next out in March, and now he's here. What does that even make of that?
I've been following Bob Baffert a long, long time. I'm sure maybe that's happened before. I can never remember that happening ever. So I have no idea what to make of it. He looked good on debut. And I didn't think he looked like a world beater, but he looked like a solid horse. And I was thinking, if not a Derby prep and allowance, and then maybe we look at, getting him involved in some stakes. But yeah, to run him in the turf or on the turf in that second start, I was just, I couldn't figure it out. So, and ran poorly too. Like looked like didn't love the turf whatsoever. So no idea. I could see him finishing off the board, and also it's Bob Baffert. I could see him showing up and running well, but I couldn't play him to win.
Yeah, it was just a weird one. I don't know. All right, let's go to the main event on Saturday. That's the Grade 2 Oaklawn Handicap race number 11. 1.25 million on the line, going a mile and 1/8 for the 4-year-olds and up. And you got a field of 8 showing up here. 2-1 on First Mission, 5-2 on Skippy Longstocking, 4-1 on Alexander Helios, 7-2 on Banishing. Where are you going in this field? Disarmed sitting there at 10-1 as well. Interesting play. What do you got?
Oh boy. I put Skippy Longstocking on top. I don't know. I'm always a sucker for him. He's been really good to me over the years, but there are some situations where he doesn't make you look quite as good. But I put Skippy on top. I just didn't trust First Mission enough. I think Banishing is the best horse in the race, but not at this distance. I think if you remember, it was 2 back. He ran longer and he ran well, but he got beat. He kind of treaded water, shortened him up. He ran fantastic. He beat freaking gray horse Saudi Crown for Cox. But that was shorter. Now we're stretching him again, and I'm just skeptical that he wants to go this far. So I landed on Skippy. He's solid. I think he'll show up and run well. I don't, look, First Mission's absolute best race. He probably can't beat him, but I don't know if that's ever going to happen again. And I think at this distance, he can beat Banishing. So give me Skippy Longstocking.
Skippy, man, what a story. I mean, he's earned over almost $3.5 million, purchased for like $37,000, and just continues to run. He's run 30 times and 10 wins, and just runs well almost every time for the most part. I'm concerned about the distance for Banishing. I think he likes Oaklawn, so I'm not sure what we'll see here. But I think he's a pace factor without question in the race. First Mission is just, I hate this horse, honestly. I do. I hate him I do not like First Mission at all anymore. Like, and I'm not saying that in a way like I don't like him. He can't win. He could win. Like that's he's a little bastard. He'll do that. He'll like last year in the Al Sheba, he wins by 4. Essex he wins by 5, and then he gets Stephen Foster. He's off the track basically. The Whitney can't even finish the race.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, in the Razorback, he's primed up, ready to go. Just runs in place down the stretch. So he's a tough one. He should get better here. Pratt is aboard here, so that's a nice bonus. But I'm going to try to beat him with the number 2, Disarm. I've always liked this horse. He's never quite gotten to that level, but it is a second start off the layoff. Should continue to get better as he gets older for Gun Runner, as they do. And just the way the race should set up, I think this horse may come running late. So give me Disarm, likes Oaklawn Park, but maybe I'm a sucker, Halterman, because I've always kind of been like, oh, what could he be? What could he be? And maybe he's not that at all. So give me Disarm here. Steven, yes, we'll go Disarm. Listen, Disarm is a horse that, has always had the build up, finished second Louisiana Derby, the Kentucky Derby, finished 4th, won the Mad Win, and then he just kind of never quite got it after that. Last year was kind of a disaster. A lot of hype going into last year for Disarm. Kind of felt like, but Stephen Foster, all those races were kind of rough, really. And then took a break after the Lucas Classic, came back. I thought looked pretty good at Oaklawn Park. Now we'll see if maybe another year he's gotten himself a little bit better. So give me number 2, Disarm, at least to get a good price here. So did you have any thoughts on Disarm? Do you like this horse? Are you officially out of the bandwagon that I apparently am not?
Yeah. I mean, I don't like him very much, but I will say this. It is one of those races where he can, like, Disarm won that one. Yeah, no, I get that, because none of them are that good, right? They're all just average at this point of their careers. So, I mean, except for Banishing. Again, I think he's running extremely well. I don't know why they keep stretching him out, but yeah, Disarm, I don't like him, but would not be shocked because
I really liked Ben. I wanted to pick him, honestly, but then it's like the fact that, well, 1, Pratt is off. That wasn't a great sign. But 2, it's like he just feels like a horse is just not quite wanting to go that long. It's like, why are you running him here? But regardless, there's our picks for the Oaklawn Handicap, and there's all the picks for the weekend. Good luck. All righty. We have a big announcement for everybody, so stay here. Stay here for a second. Shadi, I know you've been dying to find out what this is. She's been asking me. She's been asking me, like, on every live, like, what do I need to do? Do I need to be a subscriber? Yes, you do.
Yes.
I mean, you should want to be a subscriber all the time.
I was going to say.
All right, guys, that's all the time we have. Check us out at racingdudes.com for our free picks and our premium selections on our products page. Click the Get Racing Dudes premium button at the menu at racingdudes.com to learn more. Remember, go check out the Betting Bible. The Betting Bible is available right now for sale. You can get that for $49.95. It includes both days, Oaks and Derby days, every single race on the card. Obviously, the Oaks and the Derby are included. We'll give out all kinds of bet. You get exactly what Halter and we just saw the hype video earlier, exactly what we're betting. We gave out the daily double or the Oaks Derby double last year. So those kind of bets are included. You kind of get everything. You get John White's top 4, anything that you want to help you cash more tickets on Oaks and Derby Day. Those are available. But again, Halterman, you get this for free if you are a premium subscriber. But there's also something else that you need to know if you are a premium subscriber. So do you want to announce this?
No, you're going to announce it.
Oh, okay. You're just going to sit there. Okay. So here's the deal, guys. For the duration of, we're going to do it for the Triple Crown, basically. So the into May and then into June, and we'll see how this goes. But if you are a premium subscriber, and that is as low as $70 a month, so any of our premium packages on the website, so when you are a premium subscriber, anybody that's in the chat, raise your hand if you are a premium subscriber. You get all the betting Bibles for free. So anytime we have a betting Bible released, you get it for free. If you're just a $70 a month, you get the premium picks, great. But when we have a Derby betting Bible, if we have a Bluegrass betting Bible, it's in your dashboard. It's for free. Starting on May 1st, when we look at the list on May 1st and you are a premium subscriber, you will be automatically entered for a $1,000 cash prize. That's right. $1,000 cash money. What else do you need going into the Kentucky Derby, right? What do you need going into the Belmont the next month? If you are a premium subscriber for as low as $70 a month, you're automatically entered to win $1,000 cash. And the way we're going to announce this is even better than that. So basically what we're going to do is once we see the list on May 1st, okay, here's our subscribers. You are automatically entered. We'll take the list. We'll randomize the list. And I think, are we going to do the top 20? I think we'll do the top 20.
How many horses can fit on the screen?
It's at least 20.
Okay, so we'll do top 20 for Derby theme, and then maybe for Preakness we'll do 12, something like that.
Yeah, we can hone it in a little bit. But
Belmont
basically what will happen is we'll do the top, and we're going to do a post, and we'll announce, give you all the rules. But we'll have the top. It'll be a random order, and then boom, there's 20. So 20 of our subscribers are entered into the race, and we have a randomizer that will run for 2 minutes, and in the randomizer is horses running. And your names will be, or the numbers will be on the horse. We'll run it. We'll do it live. We'll all be in here. We'll let you guys know if your horse was included in the top 20. Your horse is in the gate. The winner of the race gets $1,000.
That's simple.
I mean, what better way to do it than Derby's related randomizer for the top 20? So again, the reason we're doing this is obviously we want you guys to be a premium subscriber, but we thought what would be a fun way to, we've always tried to add more stuff, like more. If you're a premium subscriber, you can get all this. I mean, shit, we have the cheapest site in horse racing. You can get access to so many things. And so it's like, hey, at the very least, guys, you can jump into the Triple Crown, starting in May or starting into April. So you're included in this thing, and you're going to get here's the thing. You're going to get the Derby Oaks betting Bible. You're going to get the Preakness betting Bible, because that's included in that first 30 days. So that alone is $50 and that's $90. Okay. So that alone, $90, you just paid $70 to get in it. And on top of that, you're also included in getting yourself entered into the $1,000 grand prize. So, I mean, and then, hey, stay and do it another month. And now we'll do it again for June 1st. So it's really that easy. So I mean, $70 to win $1,000. It's kind of like putting money on, publisher to win the Derby, right? Or whoever, whoever you like. So it's a little bit of a bet that way. And I think we're, just to kind of give people an idea, it's, usually ranges between 300 to 500, right, subscribers at a time at a given moment. So that kind of gives you an idea of the odds of what you might be looking at.
Yeah, we'll tell you the day of. We'll say, hey, we've got X amount. Here's the randomizer to 20, and then your 20 names will be put on the horses. And I think that's the thing. Like when you found the horses, like we were going to use it for the fantasy shakes. Like when we have horses run instead of spinning the wheel. Then it's like, wait a second, what if we had a race with all the subscribers? It's like, okay, we can't do all of them, but we'll cut them down somehow. And like, boom. And then there's a cash prize for that. So yeah. And the fun thing about it is we're going to do it. Will we do it just a separate live, or will we do it on blinkers off, or how are we going to do that?
I don't know. We haven't ironed out all those details yet.
But we're going to do it where you can watch. Everybody can watch. So if you're entered, you'll be able to log in whenever it's ran, and then boom, you can watch and cheer your horse on. It's going to be like, those games in Vegas that you play where you're on the, the little horses are running and you get to follow them. So yeah, it's going to be awesome. I'm excited for it. Just an idea we had to kind of, reward people for being members. And we appreciate you guys. And it's going to be, like I said, we're going to have a lot of fun with it.
Well, looking at the schedule, so May 1st is Thursday. And then the second is Oaks Friday. So what we could do is either on blinkers off or whatever, we could promote, or we could do the announcement for the 20. Right. That we could tie, put in the, we'll do the randomizer for to reveal the 20 horses that are going to run for the, for the race. And then honestly, we could even do Saturday morning or something and be Oaks or Derby Day. But first we're running for a grand for the Racing Dudes. What should we call this? Racing Dudes
Derby.
The Racing Dudes Derby.
There you go.
There you go. I mean, maybe get the juices flowing before the Derby Day or before the Derby run. So
yeah, imagine winning $1,000 right before Derby Day starts. That'd be great.
Yeah, might be the most money you win all day.
Yeah, well, it's very possible.
Not if you follow the premium picks, Halterman.
That's right. Yeah, which you'll have access to. So.
But there you go. So that's all you need to know for right now. So basically between now and the end of this month, make sure you are a premium subscriber. So if you're contemplating buying the betting Bible, just spend the extra $20 and pay $70. Yep. You'll be involved. You'll get the Derby betting Bible. You'll get the Preakness betting Bible, but you'll also be entered to win this contest. So it's a great, and we'll promote this more and more as we get closer, but that's the announcement. So hopefully everybody, it's going to be fun. I'm excited I'm just excited to watch these horses. We're going to do it 2 minutes too. So it's just like the Derby, the 2 minutes, greatest 2 minutes in sports.
Yep.
We're going to put it at the timer at 2 minutes. It shows all the horses on the screen.
I'm super excited to watch them. I'm so weird, but it's like, that's going to be fun.
We might have people betting on that too, as well. Like side pots going on. Like, who do you got? I got the 2. It's funny too, if you guys, the way it works, like the horse will be off the screen, then we coming flying late, and can they get there? It's a blast to watch. So all right, guys, make sure you go check us out on Twitter at Race_Dudes, Instagram, Facebook, and you can find all episodes of Blinkers Off by visiting our podcast page, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you listen to. We are there. Go to YouTube. Make sure you hit that like notification and subscribe. We have all kinds of videos and content related to the Kentucky Derby and more coming your way. Magic Mike show coming up here in 20 minutes, right? What are you guys going on?
Keeneland late pick 5 on Saturday. It's a doozy. I'll just tell you that right now. But yeah, that's coming up here 20 minutes from now. So I'll be there.
All right. Until next time, guys. Again, this is it is the most exciting time of the year for us. So everybody, have fun, enjoy, happy handicapping. We'll see you next week. I'm Jared Welch. He's Arnold Halterman. Good luck this weekend, guys.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Blinkers Off. Join our horse racing community at racingdudes.com and follow us on Twitter at racing_dudes. Want to make money betting horses? Bet with the Racing Dudes.